The envelope was cream with a gold border, soft to the touch, and expensive in that quiet, smug way. It sat in the center of my tray table, unopened. I stared at it like it had teeth. It didn't say my name, just, "To our most cherished loved one." Inside was a shimmering card embossed in coral pink ink. "You are joyfully invited to the wedding of Sierra Lee Monroe and Grayson Taylor Gray. Maui, Hawaii, September 15th, 20th. Lodging and airfare fully covered for our selected guests." Selected guests. I sat in my wheelchair, feet curled in the woolen blanket my aunt knitted last winter, and blinked at the palm trees printed along the border. They were laughing at me, because I already knew what this was. Sierra, my sister. Half-sister, technically. But everyone pretended the half didn't matter. Until it did. Until I was left out of family photos, of phone calls, of decisions, about my own life, of this wedding. It took everything in me not to crumple the invite. Instead, I looked across the living room toward Mom, who was curled on the sofa with a glass of wine, giggling at something on her phone. Her laughter came in staccato bursts, too high-pitched to be real. She glanced over. "Oh, you got it." Got it. The wedding I wasn't invited to by name. The one I couldn't afford to attend. The one my sister knew I couldn't physically travel to. Because just a month ago, I'd been released from the hospital with the strict instruction: no long flights, no heat, no pressure. I looked her in the eye. "How is this being paid for?" I asked. She blinked. "What do you mean?" "The airfare, the resort, the spa packages." She said it was covered for guests. Mom laughed, setting her wine down. "Oh, it's all been taken care of. Sierra's very resourceful." I didn't say anything. Not yet. Just quietly wheeled myself back into the hallway, past the mirror, past the family portrait where my image had been conveniently cropped for a better frame. I wheeled into my room and shut the door. Then I logged into my state benefits portal. I'd been receiving disability checks since the accident last year, after my spine was partially fractured in the bus crash. Back then, Sierra had shown up at the hospital for the photo op, posted a tearful reel on Instagram, then flew back to Miami with a new boyfriend and never asked again. It was strange. My account had always been just enough, not a penny more. Barely enough for rent, physical, therapy copays, and food. I'd chalked it up to bureaucracy, until I saw the transaction log. One transfer, $7,800, marked out-of-state reimbursement request. Family guardian use authorization. Family. Guardian. My mother. I stared at the screen so long my eyes blurred. She stole from me. She filed as my guardian, without telling me, and redirected the money for a trip I couldn't even physically attend. And Sierra knew. She had to. The same girl who refused to take me to prom because my chair would clash with the limo aesthetic wasn't going to beg for disability funds unless she thought I'd never find out. But I had, and I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even confront her that night. I just opened a blank document and began planning. Not just revenge, something bigger, quieter. A slow leak of truth, exposure, justice. Because the same girl who stole my funds for a wedding in paradise would soon wish she'd never gotten married at all. The worst thing you can do to someone like me, someone observant, someone quiet, someone overlooked, is assume I won't remember, that I won't notice, that I won't act. Sierra had always been reckless with her digital life. Her old email passwords were still saved on the dusty family desktop in the den, the one they thought I didn't use anymore because of the chair. But I'd adapted. I had my tricks. I knew where to look. The moment I saw the transaction, I went down the rabbit hole. Late into the night, the soft blue screen of the old computer lit my face as I sat alone in the dark. Her old email was still logged in. She never deleted it after high school. And to my surprise, she'd forwarded wedding planning docs to it from her new account. Everything was there: the guest list, the invoices, the wire transfer receipts, a PDF labeled Payment Bundle Final. One receipt stood out: $9,250, private villa upgrade and bridal suite package, paid by Monroe Household, via state benefit account, proxy released via guardian authority. I froze. They weren't just spending my checks, they were laundering it. Mom had used a forged signature, mine, to authorize transfer power, probably when I was still sedated on painkillers after surgery. My signature was childlike, slanted, nothing like the clean, straight letters typed across that form. It was bold, almost proud. My heart didn't race. It stilled. And then I kept digging. In the email, I found threads between Sierra and a wedding planner named Bryn. Their exchanges were syrupy, filled with flower emojis and unnecessary exclamation marks. But one attachment caught my attention, a spreadsheet titled VIP Gifting Schedule. When I opened it, I nearly laughed. Custom silk robes for bridesmaids. Champagne sabers. Under $200 worth of pre-wedding skincare sets. And a column titled Non-VIP. Guests who wouldn't get robes. Champagne. Or thank yous. My name wasn't even on that list, because I wasn't listed anywhere. Yet my money paid for it all. The next day, I asked my physical therapist to drop me off 2 blocks from our house instead of the front door. She hesitated. I lied and said I wanted to try a new curb ramp. In truth, I didn't want Mom to see me arrive. I needed her to believe I was still as helpless as I was months ago. I wheeled slowly, deliberately, not out of exhaustion, out of patience. I had no intention of rushing what I was about to do. When I reached our porch, I saw the wedding dress hanging from the arch of the living room window, displayed like a painting. Ivory, beaded, shimmering. I didn't even know she'd brought it home. From my position outside, I could see Mom inside, brushing Sierra's hair while she FaceTimed someone. Probably her best friend Samira. Their shrill laughter leaked through the open window. I told him the beach one was too basic, and Grayson's mom offered to pay, but hell no, this wedding is my vision. Sierra giggled, her voice smug and sugar-dipped. And anyway, the villa is already handled. Mom figured it out. She's such a genius. I nearly smiled. A genius, huh? That night, when they were both out, dinner with Grayson's family, I unlocked Mom's desk. Drawer. I had seen the key before, dangling on the Mama One Mom lanyard in the kitchen. I'd even watched her tuck documents inside, oblivious that I was still watching everything, just quieter than before. Inside the drawer was a plastic accordion file. Opened it and found what I was looking for. Power of attorney for medical and financial oversight. Madison Claire Monroe. Signed. Stamped. Forged. 2 witnesses. Names I didn't recognize. I took a photo of every page. Then I returned it precisely how I found it. I didn't tear anything. I didn't confront anyone. Instead, I booked an appointment with a legal aid clinic, online. Then I emailed a local journalist under a pseudonym, attaching the photos and receipts. Just as a test. Just a whisper of what was coming. And then, as I closed the laptop and shut my lamp off, I lay in bed with one quiet, ruthless thought. Enjoy. Your bachelorette trip, Sierra. Because by the time she lands in Maui, everything she's built will begin to burn. 3 days later, the first hairline fracture appeared. Not at home, where everything was still staged like a magazine spread. Peonies in vases, dress hanging by the window, wine glasses drying by the sink. No, the first fracture arrived in the form of a phone call. I was sitting on the porch, sipping ginger tea and watching the sun cast long streaks across the cracked pavement. My wheelchair nestled beside a pot of neglected succulents. Mom had once promised we'd start a garden together when I got out of rehab. That promise had wilted with the first frost. The screen door creaked open behind me. Mom stepped out, phone pressed to her ear, eyes squinting like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Yes, I understand. But that shouldn't be possible. There must be some kind of mix-up. Pause. Well, no, she's not capable of... Her voice dropped to a hush. She's still adjusting, you know? That one sentence stung. Like I was still supposed to be lying in a hospital bed, blinking through morphine fog. I turned my head, slow and deliberate, and met her gaze. She flinched. Just slightly. The call ended with a rushed, "Thank you. I'll get back to you." Then, she stood in the doorway, silent. "Something wrong?" I asked, stirring my tea. She hesitated. "It's nothing. Just a paperwork hiccup with Sierra's wedding travel grant." Ah yes, the grant. How they explained the surge of funding that paid for a beachfront villa with infinity pools and personalized menus. I nodded like I believed her. That evening, Sierra barged into the house like a hurricane of Chanel perfume and rhinestones. "Mom!" she shrieked from the foyer, heels clacking furiously against the tile. "Why is there a fraud alert on the villa transaction? Bryn just called me in a panic." I didn't move from my seat at the kitchen table. I calmly sliced my apple as her panic echoed through the hallway. "I swear to God, if this ruins the welcome dinner..." "You'll figure it out," I said quietly, not looking up. She froze. Then, "Excuse me?" I finally looked at her. "You'll figure it out. You always do." Her eyes narrowed. "What's your problem lately? You've been acting so... smug." Smug. That word caught me off guard. I almost laughed. "No problem," I said coolly. "You're just paranoid." She stood there like she wanted to say something else, but didn't know what. Then she turned on her heel and marched upstairs. I gave it 10 minutes. Then I pulled out my phone and checked the burner email account I created last week. Re-story inquiry. Possible exploitation of disability funds by family guardian. Hi, Madison. Alias, we're very interested in following up on your tip. Can you confirm the location of the wedding and whether the named parties are public figures, influencers? If so, this would help validate the urgency of the investigation. Perfect. I typed my reply slowly, carefully. Yes, Sierra was an aspiring content creator with over 80,000 Instagram followers and a brand partnership with a hair vitamin company. No, I didn't want money. I just wanted the truth exposed, because truth was always my weapon of choice. The next day, while Mom and Sierra were out for a final dress fitting, I called the Department of Social Services. I'd already reviewed the forged documents with legal aid. Now I was calling not as a broken girl seeking help, but as a woman laying down evidence. I reported the forged signature. I gave names, dates, attached copies. The caseworker on the other end sounded stunned. Miss Monroe, if what you're saying is accurate, this constitutes both fraud and abuse of fiduciary responsibility. Were you ever formally notified of your change in guardian status? No. Were you in a medically sound state at the time this document was executed? No. I was under heavy medication. Post-op. I see. We'll be elevating this. A pause. I have to say, it's very brave of you to speak up. I said nothing. I wasn't brave. I was methodical. Later that evening, Sierra posted a story on Instagram, beaming under a glittering bride mode filter, sipping something, pink with a tiny umbrella. She looked untouchable, but I knew the crack was spreading. By morning, another call came, this time to Mom's personal cell. She didn't answer in front of me, but I heard the hushed panic in her voice from the bathroom. No. It must be a mistake. You don't understand. She's confused. She's ill. That was their fallback plan. Turn me into the unreliable narrator, the girl in the chair who imagined betrayal. But I wasn't confused, and I wasn't alone anymore. Because 2 hours later, I got another email, story inquiry, confirmed for investigation, and below it, would you be willing to do a recorded statement anonymously? We'd like to run this ahead of the wedding. Date. I sat with that question for a long time. Not because I was afraid, but because I was wondering how Sierra would react when the world finally knew her villa wasn't paid for by love, but by theft. It dropped 3 days before the wedding. At Timu. First, I didn't even see it. It was my physical therapist, Jamal, who texted me the link with a single-word message. Yo. I clicked. The headline struck like a slap. Exclusive. Bride-to-be, accused of funding $40K destination wedding with sister's disability checks. She couldn't even attend, but paid for everything. The article was brutal. Precise. Anonymous quotes. Redacted screenshots. Phrases like abuse of guardianship and fraudulent authorization leapt from the page. They didn't use my name. But the story didn't need it. Anyone who followed Sierra online could piece it together. The article included blurred photos of her gifted villa package, the branded bridesmaid robes, the private beach itinerary she'd once bragged about in her Instagram reel. But the reel was gone now. Deleted. Her profile? Private. The girl who once hashtagged every meal, every pose, every product, had vanished behind a wall. And that was how I knew she'd seen it. I didn't expect the explosion to come so fast. Within an hour, 3 more outlets picked up the story. 2 TikTok creators stitched old videos of Sierra with a green screen of the headline behind them, raising eyebrows as they replayed clips of her flaunting luxury skincare and captioning them. Thanks to my amazing family, Sarah blessed. Bride funded. The comments turned vicious. She stole from her sister? While she was in a wheelchair? No amount of bronzer can cover that karma. The villa should have been a prison cell, babe. I watched it all from my laptop, the screen glowing cold blue, my expression unreadable. And yet, inside, I was trembling, not from guilt, from justice. By late afternoon, Sierra was home. The front door flung open like a storm. I could hear her heels hitting the floor, fast, chaotic. The door slammed. Then silence. I didn't look up when she stormed into the kitchen. I was slicing strawberries into a ceramic bowl. She stood there, breathing hard. Her cheeks were blotched, eyes swollen, makeup smudged. "You," she choked. "You did this." I calmly placed a strawberry slice into my mouth, chewed, swallowed. "Did what?" I asked softly. "Don't play dumb," she shrieked. "You ruined my life, my wedding." I turned to face her, eyes steady. "No, you ruined mine a long time ago. I just finally returned the favor." She looked like she wanted to slap me, but she didn't, because deep down, she knew. There was no more pretending. The truth was out, and her empire of blush-toned lies was cracking under the weight of a single undeniable fact. I had the receipts. She had nothing but excuses. That night, the house was silent. Mom didn't come out of her room. Sierra's door stayed locked. Even the dog, Milo, refused to leave his crate. I sat alone at the table and opened my inbox. There was a message from the legal clinic. "Your case has been approved for official investigation. State representation will contact you this week. You have legal standing to challenge all fraudulent guardianship claims and pursue restitution." I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied with just 2 words. "Proceed quietly." At 1:17 a.m., Sierra's door creaked open. I heard her soft footsteps approach the kitchen. She didn't see me in the dark. She just stood there, in her silk robe, clutching her phone and staring at nothing. Her mascara streaks still faint on her cheeks. Her hair pulled into a messy bun that didn't look curated. I watched her reach for the fridge, then pause and cry. Not a scream, not a tantrum. Just the quiet, breathless kind of cry. The kind that doesn't ask for pity, because pity's already evaporated. And still, I didn't say anything, because her tears weren't for me. They were for the version of herself she couldn't Photoshop back into perfection. And that was how I knew. This wasn't over. But it was beginning to feel like justice. By morning, the villa had revoked the booking. The bridal suite was no longer reserved under Sierra Monroe. It was now flagged. I didn't have to call anyone to confirm. I saw it in her eyes when she walked past me without speaking. Sunglasses hiding her face, phone clutched like a lifeline. Her suitcase stood upright by the door, a sticker peeling off its side. She had planned to fly out early, a head start on the beachside bachelorette photo shoots. But now there was no runway to take off from. The invitations, the robes, the content. Deals. They were slipping like sand through manicured fingers. And still, no one said my name. Not Mom. Not Sierra. Not even when I was right there. I had become a ghost in the house I helped fund. A shadow with more power than they realized. That afternoon, a formal envelope arrived. I was on the porch again. Same wheelchair, same cracked concrete, when the mail truck stopped out front. I watched the carrier slip it into our box with visible hesitation. I rolled over, opened the flap. It was addressed to me this time. To Madison Claire Monroe. Legal response and preliminary action notice. Inside was the confirmation I'd waited for. The state had officially frozen all benefit-linked accounts associated with Mom's name. Guardianship privileges, suspended pending full investigation. A court date was being scheduled. The signature at the bottom was from a case officer, named Elena Ruiz. She'd attached her card and a brief note handwritten in ink. "I'm sorry this happened to you. You're not alone anymore." I set the envelope on my lap and just breathed. For the first time in a year, I could. Mom knocked on my bedroom door that night. It was the fake soft knock, the one she used when she wanted to seem gentle after doing something cruel. I didn't answer. She stepped in anyway. Her makeup was undone, her robe loosely tied like she was trying to look disheveled. The act felt rehearsed. "Honey," she started, voice trembling. "This whole thing has gotten out of hand." I said nothing. "I think we should talk. Maybe we misunderstood each other." "Did I misunderstand the forged signature?" I asked coldly. "Or the part where you claimed I wasn't mentally competent?" Her face twitched. "It wasn't like that." "Then how was it?" She sat down in the chair beside my desk, like it was still her house, still her rules. "I thought I was helping. You were so sick. The money was just sitting there. Sierra needed—" "No," I cut her off. "I needed it. For therapy, for food, for rent." She wrung her hands. "It was only temporary. You lied." The word sliced the air clean in half, and for a moment she just stared at me. Then the tears started, thin, performative, too late. "You don't understand what it's like trying to give both daughters a good life." "No," I whispered. "You gave one a runway. You gave the other an excuse to crawl." She sobbed harder. "I didn't mean to hurt you, but you did." Later that night, Sierra's fiancé Grayson showed up. I heard his knock, loud, annoyed, urgent. Sierra opened the door, and he burst in. "What the hell is going on?" he snapped. They didn't see me behind the corner watching. "Grayson, please, it's just internet gossip," Sierra said, breathless. "My boss asked me about it in a meeting. You didn't think this would affect me." "I work in finance, Sierra. They vet people." "Nothing's proven," she cried. "It's just lies from my sister. She's bitter. Did you use her checks?" Silence. He looked at her for a long time. Then he shook his head. "You know what's worse than lying, Sierra?" She opened her mouth. He didn't let her speak. "Being dumb enough to think you wouldn't get caught." Then he walked out. And the silence that followed was the loudest I'd ever heard this house. By midnight, she was in my room. She didn't knock. She stood in the doorway, mascara dried in streaks, shoulders rigid. "You don't have to destroy me," she said. I stared at her, unmoved. "You already did that to yourself." I was scared. No, Sierra. I was scared. Every day since the accident. Scared of losing my legs, my independence, my future. And while I fought to walk again, you threw parties on stolen money. She stepped closer. "I'll fix it. I'll pay you back." "You can't." "I will. Just don't let them press charges." My eyes narrowed. "You didn't ask for mercy when you took it. You didn't even invite me to the wedding." She didn't speak. "You left me here to rot, while you bought matching swimsuits for bridesmaids who don't even know I exist." She folded right there, knees buckling, crying on my floor. But I didn't move, because forgiveness isn't a requirement of justice. And justice had just started calling. The wedding was still technically scheduled, but the bride had no venue, no guests, no photographer, no glam team, and no dignity. What remained was an empty countdown on a website she hadn't taken down yet, a soft pink banner reading, Days until forever begins. I refreshed the page every morning, watching the number tick down like a slow fuse. By day 5, she had deleted the site. Sierra's Instagram, once a canvas of filtered beaches and bootleg brand deals, was a graveyard of deactivated tags. Her past sponsors had pulled out, one by one, citing reputational concerns. The worst blow came from Bellaria, the boutique that had given her a dress partnership. They posted an Instagram story that afternoon. We were unaware of the recent allegations. The dress partnership has been officially dissolved. Our brand stands firmly against financial exploitation and abuse. It stung more than the article, because Sierra had posted pictures in that dress like it was her own skin. Now they were gone. Wiped. Like she'd never been chosen at all. Meanwhile, the house was a pressure cooker. Mom barely spoke to anyone. Her phone buzzed nonstop with unknown numbers and lawyers trying to clarify matters. The guilt wasn't changing her, just cornering her. She wasn't remorseful. She was terrified. And Sierra? She stayed upstairs. Most of the time. Now and then, I'd hear her pacing. Quiet. Rehearsed. I figured she was practicing some half-baked redemption monologue for when the cameras inevitably showed up. She'd always been good at twisting things, crying pretty, but some things don't edit well in real life, especially when your victim's no longer afraid to speak. My court meeting was set. Virtual for now. Elena Ruiz had walked me through everything. I didn't need a private attorney. The state was handling the fraud. But I'd prepared a personal statement anyway. Carefully written, unsentimental. The facts laid bare. Still, one thing she said echoed every time I opened my laptop. They may try to settle quietly. You're allowed to say no, and I would. Because money wasn't what I wanted. I wanted acknowledgement. Public. Loud. On record. That same week, Sierra finally broke. She appeared in my room again, but this time without drama. No silk robe, no mascara streaks. She was in sweatpants, barefaced, hair tied back like she didn't care who saw her. I canceled the wedding, she said, flat. I blinked. Oh? She sat in the corner chair like she was too tired to lie. Grayson hasn't called in days. His mom posted a quote about character over charm. So, that's done. I didn't respond. She swallowed. They're saying I'll be investigated, that I could get a record. You should. Silence. Then, I didn't mean to ruin your life. You didn't ruin my life, I said. You delayed it. That stunned her. She blinked slowly. I don't know who I am anymore. You never knew. She nodded like she expected that answer. And maybe she had. Before she left the room, she turned to me one last time. Are you going to keep going with it? With what? The investigation, the press, all of it. I looked her dead in the eyes. Absolutely. That weekend, the article went national. A segment aired on a popular news show about guardianship abuse and the gray areas of trust. They used my story. Voice changed, name protected, but truth intact. Mom watched it in silence. She didn't say a word. Just poured herself a glass of wine and stared at the screen, haunted. I didn't gloat. But I didn't comfort her either, because I was done being their soft place to land. I dressed simply that morning. Dark jeans, a navy cardigan, and a thin silver chain that had belonged to my grandmother. the only woman in our family who never treated me like a burden. My laptop sat open on the table, the login screen for the virtual hearing waiting for my name. The email had said 10:30 sharp. I logged in at 10:10. Prepared. Clear. Undeniably present. Mom didn't say a word as I passed her in the hallway. She had barely spoken to me all week. She'd been too busy chasing calls from her lawyer, who seemed more interested in limiting damage than accepting guilt. Sierra was gone. She'd moved in temporarily with a friend in town, the same one who had once called me Sierra's tragic sister behind my back. I found it fitting, letting her rot in the echo chamber of shallow sympathy she'd built for herself. The courtroom wasn't a room at all, just a sterile Zoom window filled with boxed-in strangers. A judge, 2 investigators, a clerk. Elena Ruiz, my caseworker, calm and alert in her small square, and me, Miss Monroe, the judge began, eyes soft behind the glasses. Do you confirm that you are present and able to proceed today? Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Please. Be aware that this hearing will determine whether the guardianship filed under your name was lawfully executed, and if misuse of state benefits occurred. You may begin with your statement when ready. I nodded, took a breath, and spoke. I didn't plan to survive the crash, I said. I didn't plan for the metal in my spine or the endless therapy or the days where I couldn't feel my legs. Elena gave me a steady look, reassuring. But what I also didn't plan for was that my own family, my mother and my half-sister, would treat my tragedy like an opportunity. That while I was learning to sit, then stand, then move again, they were planning a wedding using the money that kept me alive. The room stayed silent. They didn't just steal funds. They stole my dignity, my autonomy, my future. I took another breath, even, calm. I am not here today to cry. I did that already. I'm here to reclaim my name, to say clearly and without hesitation. I never authorized them to speak for me, and I never gave them permission to make me invisible. The judge nodded. Elena unmuted briefly. Miss Monroe has also submitted documentation of forged signatures, unauthorized fund transfers, and fabricated witness testimony attached to the guardianship form filed under her name. All evidence has been reviewed by our office. A pause. Then the judge said something I never thought I'd hear. Effective immediately, all guardianship rights previously granted to Melanie Jean Monroe are hereby nullified. A formal investigation into misappropriation of state funds will continue under the Office of Fraud and Welfare Oversight. Miss Madison Monroe, you are now legally recognized as the sole manager of your benefits, retroactive to the date of application. I closed my eyes and exhaled, not in relief, in clarity. It was done. At least this part. Later that evening, a knock came at the door. I almost didn't answer, but something told me it wasn't Sierra. When I opened it, Mom stood there, not with whine, not with fake tears, not even with denial, just silence. I saw the hearing, she murmured. They sent me the transcript. I didn't speak. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded check. Her hand trembled as she offered it. This is the first of it, she said. From my account. It's not enough. But I'll keep sending more. I didn't take it. Why? Now? Her voice cracked. Because I can't sleep at night. Because for the first time I saw what you see, and I didn't like who I was in that mirror. Still, I didn't take the check. Don't buy your way out, Mom, I said. Earn it. Like I had to earn everything after you took it. She nodded slowly, eyes wet, but didn't cry. Okay. Then she turned, quiet, small, older than I remembered, and for the first time in months, I closed the door, not in anger, but in power. 2 months later, a certified envelope arrived. It was thick, hand-delivered, and stamped with a law firm's seal. I opened it slowly at the kitchen table, the same spot where I used to slice apples in silence while they plotted against me. Inside was a settlement agreement, Sierra's name at the top. The first page offered a public apology, crafted by lawyers, scrubbed of anything human, acknowledging misuse of state-assigned benefits, and formally waiving all rights to appeal the guardianship ruling. The second page outlined a monetary offer, $48,500 in damages, paid in full by her and Mom. I leaned back in my chair, not because of the number, because of what it meant. They finally knew they had no more ground left to stand on. I signed, but not before requesting one change. The apology could not be anonymous. It had to be posted on Sierra's verified Instagram account, visible for no less than 30 days. Her lawyer hesitated, but Sierra didn't. She agreed immediately. That surprised me, until I saw the post. It was plain. Black text on a white background, no filters, no hashtags, just words. I used money that was never mine. I hurt someone who trusted me, someone who never had what I took for granted. I won't make excuses. I will make amends. Sierra Lee Monroe. The comment section was locked, but the message was there. Undeniable. Archived. And I never had to say another word. A week after that, I moved out, into my own apartment. 1 bedroom, ground floor, full accessibility, small but clean. Paid for with my own funds. And the lawsuit, Mom, didn't help me pack. She offered, but I declined. Sierra didn't come to say goodbye. But as I was wheeling the last box into the hallway, she showed up. Standing just outside the porch, a thin folder in hand. She looked different, not glamorous. Just real. I brought these, she said. Inside were photos, us as kids. One of me in braces at age 9. Another of us at a state fair. Both, faces sticky with cotton candy. She handed it over. I thought maybe we were still sisters back then. I took the folder but didn't open it. We were never sisters in the way that mattered, I said gently, but I hope you become someone's sister again. Someone else's. She nodded. No tears this time. Just truth. Then she turned and left. No hug. No promises. Just silence. Which, for once, was enough. Now every morning I roll to the cafe on 3rd Street and write for an hour. I'm working on a memoir, Quiet Justice. Not about vengeance. About visibility. People ask what I want them to take from my story. I say this. There's power in patience, power in silence. But the loudest power is truth with a spine. Mine may be partially metal now, but it still holds everything up, and no one will ever take that from me again.